Cole's apology to Kendrick broke the internet. But what if I told you that every blurred out circle on screen is another rapper who also had to apologize for a diss at some point? I'm talking Jay-Z, Eminem, Biggie, Kendrick, Drake, and several names you definitely never expected. Let's start with one of the most lopsided rap battles of the last decade. In 2015, Meek Mill took to Twitter and accused Drake of not writing his own lyrics, specifically calling him out over his feature on Rico. Drake answered, but charged up, then back-to-back landed. And once that second record hit, the battle was over in the public's eye before Meek even had a real chance to respond. Even with the Quentin Miller reference tracks leaking and the entire ghostwriting conversation picking up steam, Meek's response with "Wanna Know" just couldn't compete. The internet had already decided. But when all the smoke settled, here's what actually happened. By 2018, Meek was on Hot 97 with Funk Flex and revealed that the two of them had already spoken privately and both apologized to each other over the phone. 100%. Yeah, we kicking it every day on the phone. We ain't just like fake splash the beef. You know what I'm saying? So, he did what he needed to do. He held it down. We apologized to each other. I seen gang. We talk. I apologize, my apologize too. Drake also posted a funny meme-style video as a way of apologizing to Meek. Let me apologize to you if I hurt you. Drake appeared on Meek's stage in Boston, showed up on his album, and the beef was officially dead. I got more slaps than the Beatles. Speaking of the Beatles, I just found out that I'm 30% English. And for the low cost of just $19, you can learn exactly about your own family's history with today's sponsor, MyHeritage. MyHeritage is a global DNA testing service that helps you learn more about your family's history to discover where your roots truly come from. Their DNA test covers 42 ethnicities and over 2,000 geographic regions, which is more than any other testing company out there. I've been curious about where I come from, so this is like a really cool way to do it. They sent me this kit, and using it couldn't have been any easier. Just a simple cheek swab, took 2 minutes tops, then you send it back and wait about 2 to 3 weeks for your results. I got mine back. So let's check out my results. 30, 2% Scottish. I'm 29% English. I figured that makes sense. 9, 5% Dutch. I would have never ever guessed that. MyHeritage also has a DNA match feature where, as you could see here, you could see your ancestors and your relatives in real time. Some of these people I've had to ask my parents about, and just for peace of mind, MyHeritage is committed to their privacy policy. This means they'll never sell or license your genetic data, and that's important to me. MyHeritage also has a feature called Ancient Origins, which traces your lineage back 10,000 years. The Ancient Origins feature has over 422 ancient populations, such as Imperial Romans, Norse Vikings, and Ancient Egyptians. With this feature, you'll discover where you descend from and learn how your ancestors lived. The fact that they can even do this is remarkable to me. And if you're also curious, MyHeritage is running their lowest price ever right now at just $19. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen right now and use the code DIRT19 to get your kit for just $19. Big thanks to MyHeritage for sponsoring the video. QR code here, link in the description. While Drake and Meek went through a full-blown war and apologized much later, the next rapper on the list didn't even let 48 hours pass before walking his disc back. Most people would say Cannabis got the clear win in his battle with LL Cool J. And by the end of the 90s, he had built a real reputation as one of hip-hop's most respected MCs. I personally went through a Cannabis phase myself, and apparently Cole did too. In fact, Cole is named Cannabis as one of his favorite rappers, and one of the artists he looked up to early on is a Cannabis verse. It'll give you an idea of what I was into around that age. This is 98. Cannabis is the ultimate execution, the dream swinging the guillotine. And strangely enough, it was actually Cole's praise of Cannabis that started the whole thing. Cole kept shouting Cannabis out in early interviews, and he even used Cannabis instrumentals during his shows. Now, you would think Cannabis would appreciate that kind of love, but instead he found a way to take it as disrespect. In Cannabis's mind, Cole was speaking on him like he was some washed-up legend from the past, instead of someone still making music in the present day. He speaks about me like I'm dead. What he's doing is underhanded and disingenuous. And whether it's his idea or not, I don't agree with his tactic, and I have something to say about it. And he wasn't bluffing, because a couple days later he dropped a full diss track to J. Cole called J. Clone, aka known for tight styling and stereotype. However, the problem is the disc did not land in the way that he thought it would. Instead of people rallying behind him, Cannabis got bombarded with backlash online. No one could even make sense of why he did it, and he came off bitter and insecure. So within 48 hours, Cannabis dropped a full apology video to J. Cole. And after 48 hours of it, I feel confident enough to say that it's unanimous. Hip-hop is spoken up loud and clear. It's a cold world right now, and you're the reigning champ, Jay. I take full responsibility for my actions, and I apologize for stepping over the line. It comes off as tacky and unsophisticated, and it's just not G. And I really wonder if Cole ever thought back to this moment when he decided to apologize to Kendrick. But Cannabis was not the only rap legend to walk back disrespect, because the next artist is even more iconic, and he disrespected an entire group. As I sit back, relax, everybody knows the song I just played, which was just playing Dreams from Biggie's classic Ready to Die. On the record, Biggie runs through a list of R&B singers that he fantasizes about. He names women like Patti Leal, Mariah Carey, and Mary J. Blige. But not every woman that he mentioned got a compliment. At the start of the second verse, Biggie says he would rather sleep with RuPaul, a literal drag queen, than any of the women from Escape. Now, for context, the women in Escape were young at the time, and they definitely had more of a tomboy image, but that line still hurt for them to hear it. Them Ask the Women from Escape didn't seem to fit Biggie's preference at the time, but eventually he felt bad and realized he was in the wrong. He tried multiple times to speak with the girls and apologized, but they would not give him the chance. However, in one of the saddest examples on this list, Biggie finally got a chance to speak to Tiny and apologize to the group. And according to Tiny, this happened about 30 minutes before he was killed. Candy was like, "I'm not going over there. I don't want to talk to him." And I was just like, "All right, I'll go over there." So I went, and he basically apologized and said he apologized for saying that he thought we were beautiful. And that, he was just like, he was like, "I'm ugly. I ain't had no business talking about nobody, While Biggie managed to offend an entire R&B group, the next rapper on the list had a diss record leak where he was directly dissing one of his own peers. I wish a Kendrick and Big Sean came up around the same time and were both major names from the blog era. At one point, they were even cool. But a lot of people believe that after Kendrick appeared on Big Sean's Control, that some real tension started brewing. I said trying and not doing, because not doing is something a not doing. As strong as Big Sean's verse was, that record immediately became Kendrick's because of everything he said on it. And for years after that, fans kept picking up on what they believe were subliminal shots for both sides. Big Sean was talking about saviors of hip-hop and fast rappers. Not impressed by you rapping fast like One Big Attack, but trash when I'm rapping back. You put in your top 5 and claim they save your rap. Then Kendrick had a reference to Hall of Fame, which was Big Sean's previous album. Jay-Z Hall of Fame, sit your punk ass down. However, after the Hard Part 4 dropped in 2017, Big Sean actually ran into Kendrick's right-hand man, Dave Free, in an elevator, and he asked him directly, was Kendrick dissing him on that record? And Dave said, "No, I run into Dave Free," and he's like, "No, bro. It ain't nothing like It's All Love." He said something like that wasn't directly towards you. It was for anyone, Sean also claimed that he spoke with Top Dog, Kendrick's label owner at the time, and Top reassured him that none of those lines were meant for him. And people were like, "Oh, he's talking about Big Sean in there, right?" So I ran until I hit up Top Dog first. I'm like, "Yo, who he talking about?" He's talking about that he's just talking to me. He's just throwing a bone out there. So, for Big Sean, that kind of seemed like enough, because he talked to 2 people that were really close to Kendrick. They both told him no issues. But then in 2023, an older version of Kendrick's Element leaked from back in 2017. And this time, there was nothing subtle about it. Kendrick was directly dissing Big Sean on that track. Big Sean keeping "I Let It Slide." I think it's false confidence. I can't make them respect you, baby. It's not my job. You're finally famous for who you, and that's a pretty tough line, because I think Big Sean was dating Ariana Grande, who was way more famous than him at the time. So now Sean is confused as hell, because even though the song leaked years later, it confirmed that Kendrick really did have an issue with him at one point, which also meant people around Kendrick had flat out lied to him. I'm like, damn, y'all said it wasn't in it. Was something. So you got me looking crazy. Big Sean was pissed, but also conflicted, because Kendrick did remove all those shots from the final version of Element that the world actually heard. We didn't hear any of those lines on the record that he released. So eventually Kendrick reached out directly over text and fully apologized, telling Big Sean that his ego was out of control at that time. Then me and him talk, and I got the text on my phone. Oh, so this is me, and then this is him. He apologized in a sense for going that far, for that coming out, right? So I wanted to show you that because in a sense he apologized, right? So that text he said, yo, my ego da-da-da. So it's like while Kendrick apologized for a track that was never even supposed to see the light of day, the next two rappers were once in a group together until everything completely fell apart. Past the 45, little should need to be explained about this beef. If you were around at the time, you already know the story. 50 helped launch Game into the mainstream. They made huge records like How We Do and Hate It or Love It. And for a second, it really looked like Game was about to be Gunnett's next superstar, Gwaganood. But once Game started blowing up, everything fell apart fast. 50 felt like Game was ungrateful and disloyal, while Game felt like 50 got jealous once people started saying that the documentary was a better album than The Massacre. The streets are saying that the documentary was better than The Massacre, which it is. And 50 got jealous and kicked me out of gun. And he thought that he could do what he did to Ja Rule to me, but I'm the people's champ, man. Raps, MVP. You can't get rid of me, man. And once it went public, things got ugly fast. 50 kicked Game at AG Unit on the radio, and that fallout led to a shooting. Game then started dropping disc records. And then came one of the wildest moments of the whole beef, Summer Jam 2005, where Game threw the Gunnet chain into the crowd and basically turned the whole movement into a joke. But what makes this story fit on the list is that after all that smoke, Game actually did try to walk it back around 2009-2010. He started changing his tone, and in one interview, he outright apologized. For 50, man, I'm going to apologize to him. He could take it and say Gabe apologize. Could take it and say, oh, Games are Saki. He's apologizing. 58, it's not that. It's I'm apologizing for me, to him, to Dre, to Jimmy, to Eminem, to our fans. The problem is 50 never really embraced that apology, and for years later, they continued to kind of go at it. While Kendrick, Biggie, Game, and even Cannabis all found themselves walking back disrespect. The next rapper on the list is someone who almost never apologizes for anything. If you're going to critique me, you better at least be as good or better. Eminem has spent a big part of his career saying the most wildest things possible and usually doubling down when people get offended. But when it came to Tyler, the creator, he actually admitted that he took it too far. I was angry when I said about Tyler. What makes this situation interesting is that Tyler was not some random rapper throwing shots. He was actually a huge fan of Eminem at first. Tyler praised him for years, spoke very highly of albums like Relapse, and clearly took a lot of influence from Slim Shad's earlier style. Knock, knock, knock. Who's there? It's me. Your girlfriend had a really nice meeting with my dick. But over time, that admiration turned into criticism. In 2014, Tyler publicly called Shady 15 trash, and later made it clear that while he still loved old Eminem, he felt like Eminem's newer music had lost what made it special. Then things got even worse during Eminem's revival era. Tyler was once again vocal about not liking Eminem's newer music. And by that point, Eminem was already getting destroyed by critics, fans, and media outlets from every direction. So when he came back in 2018 with Kamikaze, he made it his mission to fire on everybody who had been talking crazy about him. I'm not going to let everybody just keep I'm not going to be America's punching bag and just want to think it's cool and safe. Just say whatever they want about me. And that included Tyler, the creator. Tyler, nothing. I see why you called yourself a. On his track Fall, Eminem took a direct shot at Tyler using a homophobic slur. And This is what made it different, because later on Eminem himself admitted that he crossed the line. The word that I called him on the album was on that song was one of the things. Where I felt like this might be too far because the homophobic in my quest to hurt him, I was hurting a lot of other people by saying it. With all that said, Eminem was far from the only icon to apologize for taking it too far. And that leads us to one of the biggest battles the genre has ever seen. The black, elegant clothes fit me like a crime boss, man. I see the world collapsing. Everybody knows Jay-Z versus Nas. It gave us two of the most legendary disc records ever in Takeover and Ether. But what a lot of people forget is that Jay actually apologized in the middle of that war. By the time things fully exploded in 2001, the tension had already been brewing for years. There had been subliminals, competition over who really held the crown in New York, and a lot of ego on both sides. But then Jay took it public during Summer Jam 2001. You guys don't want it within. Still want. Nas fired back with Ether, and once that record hit the streets, the battle completely changed. A lot of people felt like Jay struck first, but Nas landed the harder blow. You a fan, a phony, a fake, AA stand. From there, Jay responded with Super Ugly. And this is where people felt things went way too far, because Hov brought up Nas's baby mother, Carmen Bryan, and dragged Nas's family into it. And get it more in common. I came in your belly back seat, skated in your Jeep. Left condoms on your baby's seat. You calling Karma 100 times. I was born in her neck. You got a baby by the bra. You can't disown her yet. Even in a heat of battle, a lot of people felt that Hovive crossed the line. And apparently somebody else felt that way, too. It was Jay-Z's mom. After the record dropped, Hovive went on Hot 97 and publicly apologized, saying his mom called him and told him he had gone too far, especially by bringing women and children into it. Getting a call from Big Mommy, but disrespect was met with the disrespect. But I'm really sorry, but like for the other people involved. People get this messed up though. They keep saying that Hovive apologized to Nas when that's not what happened. Hov apologized to Carmen and the kids. He actually said Nas deserved it. However, if you thought Hov would be the last New Yorker on this list to say sorry, you would be wrong. When Action Bronson first started getting traction, the first thing almost anybody noticed was that he sounded a lot like Ghostface Killer. Toledo cheesy. Ghostface was obviously a legend, and these comparisons were something that Bronson just couldn't get away from. I vividly remember watching Action Bronson interviews where over and over again he would get asked about it. What up? Listen, never met you before, but I do check for your stuff because you sound like one of my favorite MCs of all time, Ghostface Killer. MHM. Yeah, he gets it a lot. Eventually, even Ghost himself got asked about it. And according to him, Bronson told him in person that he was not trying to sound like him. This is just how his voice sounded. What do you think of people that compare Action Bronson to you? I mean, he kind of thought I thought he was me one day. You know what I mean? So, when I seen him, he was like, yo, anybody saying I sound like you, and I sound like, yo, I'm not trying to sound like you, man. This is just how my voice is. I'm not trying to sound like nobody. He was a good dude, humble, and so, Ghost kind of gave him some grace. So everything seemed to be fun, and they even collaborated on Wu-Tang's legendary weapons. However, not long after that, Bronson let an insult slip towards Ghostface in an interview. Heard Action. The first time I heard you, I was like, yo, Ghost got some new stuff. Yeah. Then I found out Action Bronzer, but I'll tell you the truth, I bought the record right then. He's not rapping like this no more. Whoa. Was that a shot at the Ghost? No. OH, just being honest. I like that. Let's not be real. Never heard it. Oh damn. Man, Goldface gotta come out with a remix to Chicken Finger. He's gotta come out. He needs something. That disrespect went viral immediately. Bronson started getting cooked online, and Ghostface answered with a 6-minute video absolutely frying them. It's hilarious. I'll chop some of it up and put it in here. I want to tell this little fat up. Who gives you the right to even mention my name out your mouth? You don't up, man. And that's your fat, funky-ass, big-ass beard that one day I might set that on fire. This fat, funky ass is a fraud. Don't let me hang you from a rope and gut you like a pig and leave you out the drive because then you're done. Right now, I'm Papa D. I'm Big Papa. She ain't Fix that now. With all that said, at this point, people expected Bronson to fire back with a diss, but that's not what happened at all. Instead, he took to Twitter and apologized. Everyone says things they regret. I respect my elders and the forefathers of this art. Once again, I'm sorry. So, Bronson did the smart thing and took the high road. Bronson apologized to a legend and kept it moving. But the next story is even crazier because this one involves a pioneer in hip-hop apologizing to somebody who came after him. For years, Melly Mel had been very critical of Eminem and kept pushing the idea that Eminem got extra credit because he was white. Obviously, he's a capable rapper. If he was talking about sales, he sold more than everybody. You talking about rhyme style? Okay, he got a rhyme style, but he's white. He's white. So now if Eminem was just another like all the rest of us, would he be top 5 on that list when that could rhyme just as good as him is 35 that had records and all that? He's 35. He's white. After enough interviews like that, Eminem finally answered on Realist, taking aim at the legend directly. And I'll be the last to toy with a truth whose brain is like half destroyed like a meteor hit it with me. We lost his asteroid. Now at this point, Melly Mel was way past his prime, but still an MC at heart. He decided to jump in the booth and dropped a full diss track towards Eminem called Kickback. Why you ducking on the game when you? On my name? Why they put her in the Hall of Fame? The problem is, just like the cannabis example from earlier, the response to that record was so bad that only days later, Melly Mel issued a public apology. He admitted his comments were misguided, said his wording did not reflect what he really felt, and gave Eminem credit as an exceptional MC. I mean, he's a legend. We respect him for what he did for hip-hop, but nobody want to hear about that share. With that said, now we're back to Kendrick Lamar, but this time he's not the one doing the apologizing. And no, we're not talking about J. Cole. Much like the situation with Big Sean, this beef has roots in one place, the controllers. And what makes this so similar is Jay Electronica was also on that track. I'm solid as a rock cause I came from a rock. That's why I came with the rock to sign my name on the rock. And amongst all the MCs that Kendrick named, Jay Electronica was one of them. At the time, his public response was very measured. This is a great thing for hip-hop. The culture has been laying dormant for so long. But here's the thing. The dude was definitely carrying some animosity behind all that, because not long after, Electronica hopped on Twitter in what he later admitted was a drunken state and decided to rank the verses on Control. His order was that he had the best verse. Big Sean was second and Kendrick was third. And to put a bow on it, he said Kendrick didn't really say anything on that verse, that he had no real shots, and that facts were facts. The next morning, he walked it back and blamed it on Hennessy. As they say, drunk minds speak sober thoughts. And a couple years later, Jay proved that when he doubled down hard. In a Periscope session, he said Kendrick was a lame, that he only have one good song, and that when Kendrick raps, he says a whole lot of nothing. Put some Kendrick on. Nah, that. I like the one Kendrick song with gunplay, cartoons, and cereal. But other than that, we don't know what that talking about. Yo, we don't know what these lame is talking about. Kendrick will body you. Look, you couldn't pay Kendrick $1 million. Kendrick wouldn't tell you. Kendrick could tell you himself he couldn't body me. Kendrick, look, Kendrick is my son. Kendrick is my baby. Kendrick wishes that he could be me. And he didn't stop at words. Within a week, he put on record. On the curse of Mayweather, Jay came with some actual bars for Kendrick. Of course, we get a short joke. How you going to? And then he goes after Kendrick for chasing awards. After the track dropped, Kendrick's right-hand man Dave Free took to Twitter with a simple cutting response. Damn, you still mad about Control, Jay Electronica? Hashtag SadmanJ, fire back immediately. Watch your mouth. Stay off the swine and get knowledge of self. Your man's whack. Don't make me crumble your whole Jay Electronica was being really disrespectful. From here, Kendrick remained completely quiet, and many made the claim that Kendrick responded to Jay Electronica on his untitled album, specifically track 7, If It Never Suck. However, this turned out to not be true because even Kendrick's longtime collaborator Terrace Martin said that none of those bars were for Jay Electronica because that track in particular was several years old. With that said, it was actually Kendrick's label mate A.B. sold that far back. Jay Electronica. Quiet. However, months later, Jay Electronica went on a peacemaking spree on Twitter, apologizing to a bunch of people he talked about, including Kendrick. Peace to KOD and TD, because regardless to whom or what, we're brothers fighting the same enemy. Forgive my past transgressions. Some of these rappers are clearly afraid of Kendrick, though, because he got another apology. However, not every apology in hip-hop comes in the form of tweets, as sometimes two grown men who had real smoke just happen to be in the same airport, and that's enough. Back in 2011, Freddie Gibbs signed to his CTE World label. At the time, it looked like a match made in heaven. Gibbs had been buzzing independently for years and had just made Double XL's freshman class. Jeezy was one of the biggest names, and the collab made sense on paper. But the label relationship lasted for a year, and then Gibbs walked. Gibbs claimed Jeezy had promised him a deal with Epic Records, a deal that never materialized. He felt mishandled, misled, and sidelined. And rather than having a conversation with Jeezy about it, he did what most rappers do. He made a track about it. In 2014, on his critically acclaimed album Piñata, Gibbs dropped a track titled Real, where he goes in on Jeezy big time. On the track, Gibbs calls Jeezy fake, a fraud, a puppet, and a liar. He questions his street credibility. He even referenced Jeezy's own beef with Gucci. Mizteex. Jeezy would ultimately take the high road and stay quiet for years. But in 2020, he finally responded with a track called Therapy for My Soul. Gibbs couldn't leave us alone. But then October 2022, everything changed. The two men were actually at the airport with their girlfriends, both just trying to catch a flight, and Gibbs told the story about this on the Bootleg Kev podcast. I seen Jeezy at the airport with his wife. I was with my girl, and I seen him. We shook hands and hugged, and was just like, man, salute. It was just like, damn. It was like, hey, relief. And shortly after that airport encounter, Gibbs made it official. He posted a slideshow of old photos of the two of them on Instagram with the caption, I love you, bro. I apologize, but really you brought a different beast out of me and motivated me to get to this point. So, I got to thank you at the same time. Love, Jeezy. And we just dapped it up and chopped it up for a minute and exchanged numbers. Most of the situations that we've covered so far have one thing in common. The apology came eventually. Sometimes after months or years or after the track and egos deflated. But the next one, the apology came that same night. Yeah, $20,000. On that SH. For those unfamiliar, Dax is a Canadian rapper who built a following independently through freestyle videos and very corny content. In 2019, he had something to prove and he decided to fire on Tory Lanez. Now, at the time, Tory had been on a full run of battles. He was calling out Don Q, going at Joyner Lucas, and proposing battles with Jay, Cole, Pusha T, or anyone who wanted it. Tory was essentially standing in the middle of hip-hop with his arms wide open, daring anyone to step up. I still don't think him with me, bro. I don't know, I just don't. Dax saw the invitation and took it literally. He got in the studio and cooked up a disc called I'm Not Joyner or Don Q. And to his credit, he even prefaced the track like this. Ain't no hard feelings, we gonna laugh about this one day. The song dropped on February 8th, 2019, and within a day it racked up nearly 500,000 views. And today, it's at 10 million by all measurable standards. It definitely hit. And I think this was before he got crazy corny, because the disc is actually pretty good. However, Tory didn't seem to like it at all, as not long after he pulled up on Dax in LA outside a club after Dax had finished performing. What happened next was caught on video and shared by DJ academics to the entire internet. Apologize, I got you, bro, apologize, say sorry. All right, bet. I got you, G. So for this one, we got a forced apology on video. With all that said, there are quite a few situations that I left out of this video, like the legendary KRS-One apologizing to LL Cool J for dissing him on stage. First he called LL whack. He ain't trying T.O.B. on LL's dick and LL's whack, but then nights later in the same format, he apologized. I'm about to ask for forgiveness. I did a rhyme and I dissed LL, but I said it and the YouTube caught it. I want to say this now to LL Cool J. I'm asking for the forgiveness because I'm a real MC. And then of course there's the big apology, which was what gave me the idea for this video. And that's Jay. Cole stepping off the stage mid-beef and apologizing to Kendrick in front of the entire world. Now, whether you respected this or questioned it or got mad at it, that moment reopened a conversation that hip-hop perhaps needed to have. Because here's the thing that this entire list proves. Apologies are not insanely rare in hip-hop. They're not new, and they're definitely not just a J. Cole thing. In every era, from Melly Mel to Dax, Biggie to Bronson, Ho to Eminem, Cannabis to Freddie Gibbs, rappers are only human beings. And unless you're a raging psychopath, everyone has at least stepped back once in their life, looked at what they said, and found a way to make it right. With MCs, sometimes it's a tweet, sometimes it's a studio record, sometimes it's an interview, but many apologies have happened across the genre. And that's what made this video so interesting for me, because I really do enjoy finding and writing about things that are a little bit more obscure. And I really enjoyed making this piece. And by the way, guys, don't forget about my heritage because it's only $19 for a kit this time around. Like, this is the lowest deal they've ever had. And it's worth it. Like, I learned a lot about my family. I had some really interesting combos with my parents just trying to figure out, like, who different people are. And it's cool to see what your genetic makeup is. It's interesting.